you know Gwen Osborne, and she's been here 3 or 4 times to minister to us, and so anyway, we do FaceTime from time to time. Anyway, so she FaceTimed me earlier this week. She said, well, I'm just going to pray for you, Sandy. I said, okay. So she said, well, I just hear this over you. I hear vitamin B. And I thought, I take enough vitamins for everybody. And definitely I take vitamin B. So I don't know what this is. She said, I just see vitamin B. And then she goes on to say that, you know, vitamin B is for your energy. And I have a lot of energy anyway. She says your faith energy level is going to explode. Then she said, there's going to come for you, Sandy, a faith graduation. You've been in this place and you're graduating in your faith because we all know Deanna's going to talk about far above, and I somehow are going to get around to faith. But when she said, you're going to have a faith graduation during this new season that we're in, and then she said the darndest thing, and you know Gwen is our cussing friend, but she didn't cuss, but she did say, I just hear over you and Deanne, I hear Jack and the BeanStalk. And so she said, she didn't go on to explain it. I don't even know anything about Jack and the Beanstalk. I saw the cartoon or whatever it was, and I saw that. I don't really know anything about it, but she said, I just see or hear Jack and the Beanstalk over you and Deanne. So I don't know, a couple days later, it was just this week, a couple days later, I thought, well, okay, all right, vitamin B and my faith energy, and I'm going to have a graduation, and Jack and the Beanstalk. So I just Googled it, so because I didn't really know the story. And I found out that it's a English fairy tale, bedtime story, written in the 16th century. So once upon a time, there was a poor widow woman who lived in a little town, and she was a widow, and she had a son, a young son named Jack. Say Jack. Jack was just a young man. He was kind-hearted. He was loving, but there had been a hard winter. Now, I was telling this story to Deanne on whatever day it was, Friday, and all of a sudden, as I'm telling this story, because I can tell a story, she was seeing it. So I invite you in to the story. I invite you in as if you're just a little kid and I am telling you the bedtime story. So I invite you in to see it. So they had a hard winter, and this poor widow woman had even gotten sick during this winter, and she had fever and probably even malaria, and Jack wasn't old enough to work yet, so the point is they grew very poor and desperate, and to keep them from starving, Jack's mother said, I want you to go to market, and I want you to sell our cow. She made a choice to sell the only thing that was feeding them milk. And so but watch what God did with the choice of the poor widow woman. So Jack is just a kid. He gets that cow, and he's going to sell the cow, at the next door, or next town. And he meets a man, and this man has a bag of the most beautiful beans you have ever seen. And he said, this bag of beans, these beans are special beans. These beans are of great value. These beans are enchanted beans. And the man on the path of Jack taking the cow to sell it so they can have some money, he persuades Jack to trade the cow for the bag of beans. Jack now made a choice to trade the cow that his mom said, go sell it, for this bag of beans. So he goes home with a bag of beans. And he tells his mom. And he showed his mom this bag of beautiful beans. Well, she gets very upset, and she cries, and she scolds Jack. And Jack, remember, he's loving, and he's young, and he's tender-hearted, and there is his mother, and here he's got these beans. He was supposed to sell the cow so they could get some money, so they could buy some food. And so he makes a choice. And so before he goes to bed, he takes that bag of beans that the man on the road said were special and beautiful and of great value and enchanted. So he takes those beans, he goes to the back of the house and plants the beans back there. The next morning, this is how I prefer things to happen. I prefer you plant one night and you get it the next day. But the next morning, the beanstalks are so tall that he couldn't even see how far. I mean, they went up into the clouds. It was so high up he couldn't see it, and so he went and he got his mom, and they both looked up. They couldn't see the end of this beanstalk and where they went. And not only were they tall, they were very thick, and Jack thought to himself, they are thick enough for me to climb. They could carry my weight. And so Jack was so convinced of what that man said. These are special beans. These are beautiful beans. These are enchanted beans. And obviously they grew overnight to this beanstalk that was so weighty and so tall. I want to see what's at the top of the beanstalk. So he makes a choice that he is going to climb the beanstalk. So he climbs and he climbs and he climbs, and he even gets above the clouds. And then he gets tired and he thinks, well, what is this? And so he makes another choice at that moment, at the top of the beanstalk. Well, I'm just going to keep on going. So he keeps on going, and when he gets to the top of it, or the end of it, he looks around, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country. And he looks over to the right, so you get it. He's climbed the beanstalk, he steps out, it's a beautiful country. He looks over to the side, and there is a huge, strong castle. At that moment, a man, kind of like the one that showed up on the road, but a man comes out of the woods, and he says to that boy, Jack, That castle belongs to you. The giant that's in that castle right now took out your dad, killed your father, and he took the castle from your mother and placed it in another realm. He said, you, the man that came out of the woods and said this to Jack, said, you can take it back from the one who has it now. So then this man disappeared. And Jack thought, who was that? And of course, it's a fairy tale, so we thought it was a fairy, but my story is angel tale. This is an angel tale. And so, because of what he said, you can take it back, he made a choice. So he walked right up to the castle door and knocked. Here comes the giantess, the wife. In the story, it's giantess, giantess, the lady giant. Here comes the lady giant to the door, and she thought, oh, he'll make me a wonderful supper. You know, sometimes you just think you're getting eaten alive. You know what I'm saying? And so she just thinks, well, I'll have a wonderful supper before I feed before my husband wakes up. And at that moment, here comes the giant. And so she grabs Jack so the giant won't see him and think, well, there's my supper right there. And so she grabs Jack and locks him in a closet that was nearby. And she said, you stay in here or that giant will eat you. So he walks in and he says the famous words, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smelled the blood of an Englishman. Now, he's just in the closet next door. So the lady giant says, oh, no. You just smell a crow that flew over the chimney. So the giant she fixed him supper. The giant sits down to supper, and when he finished, he said, go get my hen. So she goes and gets the hen. She sets the hen on the table where he just had supper. Now the woman of God said, I see Jack in the BeanStalk over you. So he says to the hen, lay. And the hen pops out a solid gold egg. Not golden, gold. A gold egg. And he does that to the hen 3 times, so out plops on the table 3 solid gold eggs, and then all of a sudden he falls asleep. Jack is in the closet, but by the time she fixes his supper, he eats his supper, they go do the hen egg thing, he has figured out how to break that lock. So he makes a choice. And he remembers what the man said. You can have this castle and you can have everything in it. There's just some stuff, Deanne, that we have been robbed of. And we're going to get it all back because it's ours. And so he gets out of that closet, he runs up there, he gets that hen, runs to the BeanStalk, goes down, and Jack gives that hen to his mother. and said, Mom, if you say lay to that hen 3 times, she will lay these golden eggs. And that's exactly what happened. And so then she makes a choice and goes to the next town and sells those eggs and becomes very wealthy overnight. All right. So Jack decides he's going to go back up the beanstalk because the person who came out of the woods said, that castle is yours and everything in it. So he goes back up the beanstalk. But this time I don't end. He dyes his hair. Now I'm not talking about nowadays. I'm talking about this was written in the 16th century. Now, how in the world they dyed their hair, I don't know, but this is a fairy tale or an angel tale. Anyway, the story goes that he dyed his hair so that the lady giant wouldn't recognize him. So he disguised himself and he knocks on the door of the castle. Same thing happens. Oh, come right in. And she sees his rosy cheeks and his pretty hair. And, oh, this is going to make a wonderful supper. There comes the giant. And so she hides him in the closet again because she can hear the giant is coming. And the giant says, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. And she goes, oh no. Don't you just have a lot of people that just say, oh no? And so there's a choice that has to be made. So anyway, the lady giant says, oh no. That was just a cow herder. He's been in here. He came by. That's what you smell. So anyway, so she fixes him supper and calls then for the lady giant to bring in his bags of gold. Now remember, this guy lives in a castle. So she brings in the bags of gold, sits them there on the table, and he takes the time then to count the gold. And then he falls asleep. And Jack, because he already has fixed the lock on the door, gets out of the closet, he gets those bags, and he takes them home, and now, they are like way wealthy. Everything is so much better. And so his mother didn't want him to go back because she knew this giant was up there, didn't want him to go back up the beanstalk. But he said, Mother, I haven't done what the angel said. Take your castle back. So he made a choice. Climbed that beanstalk, knocked on the door. The giant lady, I don't know what was the matter with her, she was just unaware that this was Jack. And the same thing happened. And then she hears the giant, and she throws him in the closet. He comes out and says, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. And she said, oh, it's only the shepherd. He's been with the sheep all day, and he came by, so that's what you smell. And so, of course, he eats his supper. And this time, he called for the hen. He called for the bags of gold. This time, he called for a harp. And he says to the harp, play. And then there was just beautiful music that came out of the harp. And Jack could even hear it in the closet. And he thought, man, that is beautiful music. And so then, as normal, the giant falls asleep. And so Jack comes out, makes a decision to come out, makes a choice to come out of the closet, grabs the harp, but as he is, because he's going to do the same thing, he's going to go down the beanstalk, but as he is running, the harp says, "Master, Master," wakes the giant up. So the giant starts chasing Jack. And so Jack is faster, so he has the harp in his hand. He runs and goes down the beanstalk with the harp, and the giant then starts coming down the beanstalk. And a choice comes. When Jack got to the bottom, he hollers for his mom to bring him an axe. The mother had to make a choice to bring him an axe. And so she does, and he chops the beanstalk, and it's very big, very wide, chops it down. The giant then fell, because it's in two, he fell to his death. At the same time, do you love it? The angel appeared to him. He went up to because now he can't get back up there. Listen, God always has a way. He can't be, he hadn't got the castle yet. So God always makes a way. So this angel shows up. He goes over and touches the cut into beanstalk, and all of a sudden it becomes a very broad, sturdy staircase. And so he goes up the staircase. He doesn't have to climb. He goes up the staircase, and the angel said, "Go up and take possession." This is why this is so appropriate for awe. That's what it was all about, taking possession of the promised land that God had promised them. Go up and take possession of your castle. The giant is dead. You've been brave. You've been good. Go be happy. And Jack had to make a choice. Am I gonna finish this off if I'm gonna go up these steps? And he did. And Jack thanked that angel for the help and the advice. And then here was the ending of this story. And I told Deanne this yesterday because I didn't know that I'd forgotten that this is how this ended. So obviously he goes up there in that realm, and he gets the castle that his father, had for him. Everything that was in the castle, he got all of that because of a bag of beans that from a man on the path to sell the cow. And this angel told Jack, "I'm the one that was on the path that you traded the cow for the beans. I was there. I've been with you the whole time. I had the beans. I was there that came out and told you the story of the castle and all that's in it. I'm the one who made the staircase." And so Jack had a choice to take possession of what was promised to him by his father. And in that moment, when he got up there, that castle and all that was in it and all that it represented and all of the promises that he didn't even know he had from his Father, all of that came out of that unseen realm and manifested in the natural realm. The woman of God said, I see over you Jack and the beanstalk. I tell you what, that is worth. That is, I'm just telling you a testimony of what Gwen told us, the story of Jack and the beanstalk. And as I told, it's like I saw it. I saw the choices. I saw the path. I saw the giants in the way. I saw the outwitting of what needed to happen in order to get what was. Sometimes there is a battle. Sometimes there is something that you got to figure out in order to get what's yours. You know what I'm saying? And that is what that story is. Deanne, do you have anything to add to this amazing? Life is filled with choices. And sometimes when something is presented to you, good, bad, or ugly, sometimes we just have to think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it. But I am not going to talk myself out of the glory of God any more. God is outrageous and wonderful and loves us and has a plan for our life, has a plan for your life. And we are thrilled to be awake and alive in a season of time where God is moving and we get a choice. And we just say, we're going with him. We're going with him. I'm making that choice.